The universe was created in perfect balance and always returns to equilibrium. There is always the proper balance of light and darkness, good and evil. And so you see, it all comes down simply to where we focus our attention. It might be crazy how you see people, or maybe you may even be like this, that you look at the news and you listen to people talk, and you look at social media and you say, wow, this world is really going down the drain. Things are getting bad. Human beings are so bad. How could it possibly be otherwise? Well, the fact is that life has never been better. Since the beginning of history, life has never been as good as it is now. Not for everybody, because there's always a never-ending stream of suffering beings all the time. Even if we were to save all the suffering beings and remove suffering completely from the planet, there are still billions of other planets full of suffering beings. Not to mention beings in other dimensions that don't have bodies that are also suffering. Which is why they say the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Because one might have a good heart and say, I'm going to go save the world. I'm going to make the planet a better place. And this is noble, but there is a great danger here. Jordan Peterson once said, it's like a monkey trying to go fix an attack helicopter. The best you can do is start banging the wrench against whatever. And the worst you can do is destroy the whole thing. Many of us take on this identity of trying to be a good person and do good in the world. But what can happen is that the devil just hides in the darkness, and as you go around trying to do your good, the devil is just sabotaging and destroying everything. I have seen it happen with my own friend who I know believed himself to be a good person, good-hearted, and a good friend. But when we are so close to ourselves, it's hard to really see the truth. We can't be aware of our blind spots. We can't be conscious of what we are unconscious of until we become conscious of it. And so underneath the surface, behind the mask of morality, there is often manipulation, suffering, and destruction, a cognitive dissonance where we say, I want to make this situation right. I want to do things right. But unconsciously, we are destroying and ruining everything. And then life happens to us, and we get punched in the face, and we say, why is this happening to me? I'm a good person. I've done nothing wrong. And it is that identity as the good person which keeps us unconscious to all the ways in which we are not. And so the devil can use our good deeds to create destruction. And if we are unconscious, we can do a lot of harm. Everything stems from identity. Our unconscious identity and our conscious identity of who we believe we are. This produces our thoughts. The unconscious mind produces automatic thoughts, and then the conscious mind reacts to those thoughts. These thoughts can create emotional states. These emotional states can influence how we act. Our actions create consequences in the world, and then we experience those consequences and can reflect on our life situation. This is how we create our reality. The problem is, if I have a conscious identity as a good person, then being a bad person is probably stuck in the shadow somewhere. And so both are influencing all of my thoughts, all of my actions, all of the consequences that happen in the world. And so long as I'm hell-bent on being a good person, I will avoid facing the shadow, because it is scary and it destroys my perception of the world. Nobody likes this, nobody wants this, but it must be faced. You may have compassionate thoughts, good intentions, let's say, that fuel your desire to want to help others. But if that shadow is unaddressed, great example is if you've seen Monsters, Inc. There's this scene where the slug janitor lady, she's cleaning the place. But she's cleaning her own mess, the trail that she's leaving behind. So as she's cleaning it, she's just creating a new trail behind her. She's not actually doing anything. And two, if you always think of yourself as a bad person, an unworthy person, you will be completely blind to all the ways that you are good. And so you see, it is the quality of what we pay attention to that determines the quality of our life. But at the same time, if we don't have clarity and awareness, we can get blindsided by having too narrow of a focus. Really, the antidote to falling into any of these traps, and there are many, I'm sure, is to begin neutralizing all experience. And that is to see most clearly. This is what some people call non-dual awareness, or remaining as the non-attached awareness. And so I've achieved this in my own life, where I can generally neutralize 99% of all negative experiences. In fact, it's almost automatic, where I immediately can see, I don't even like using the word a silver lining or looking at the bright side, but literally seeing the truth of the good within it, within that situation. And this comes only when you orient your attention and focus towards God. Because the moment you really pay attention and give your energy to God, it's like you and God are experiencing the world together. And sometimes you're alone doing your thing, and then you communicate. But it's simply a game that you and God are playing together. So why would God just unnecessarily put a negative situation upon you? It is only our choice to focus on the negative that really destroys us. Of course, this all gets thrown out the window when great tragedy occurs. When one is truly suffering, there are no words, there are no ideas, there is no philosophy. All of this just gets thrown away. But assuming we're talking about normal situations, like getting a flat tire, for instance. For instance, the last time I got a flat tire, there was no negative emotions, there was no negative thoughts, there was no negative reaction. Because immediately, I recognized that I have no idea how this situation has changed the timetable of my day, of my week, of my life. Think about it. How quickly does a car accident happen? Less than 15 seconds? 15 seconds is getting caught at a red light instead of a green one. And we like to negatively react to the red light. For what? It's just a mind-created nonsense. It doesn't mean anything. I left my wallet at home, darn it. For me, it's immediately, well, that is the path that God wants me to go down. It's the solution to all problems, because all problems go away. I still may experience all of the things that people call problems, but the word gets wiped away from my vocabulary. And so I am always constantly looking for the lesson in any slightly negative situation or any negative situation in general, because there is always something to be learned. Life is a process of self-discovery, and every moment there's something to be known about ourselves. But if you're focusing on fear and negativity and self-hatred and shame and guilt, this does nothing but keep you stuck in suffering. It serves no purpose, unless you want to use it as fuel to motivate you to escape your current situation. And you see, even in that situation, you are transmuting negativity into positivity. That is your power. This is why it is so important to understand that the whole of existence is already balanced. And you can choose to focus on what is negative or what is positive. And if you want to get extra credit points, you focus on being neutral. Neutrality is the core essence of Stoicism, because through this you gain clarity, you see reality for what it is, without all of the identities projected out onto the world, without all of the stories and thoughts and beliefs and perspectives. This just muddies up our experience and keeps us in unconsciousness. And so my practice has been learning how to neutralize all experience and at the same time only focusing on what is positive. This way, all negative experiences no longer have much of an effect over you. And you can send yourself into an upward spiral where your frequency of vibration is always rising. And over time, you can enter into a reality that is no different than heaven. But just picture it how most people live their lives. Throughout the day, there may be a vast array of even slightly negative experiences that we react to. Maybe a negative thought, maybe a negative interaction with another person. All of these negative things compound to keep us stuck where we are, to keep us focused on what is negative. Now imagine if all those negative interactions of our experiences just gets wiped away, and we have mostly positive experiences. Isn't that a life that is more worth living? What if you could live a life without fear, without regret, without shame? Not necessarily without negativity entirely, because negativity can still be the spice of life. But you see, we become into balance. 90% positivity and 10% negativity is not a bad deal. Don't listen to people who say that you are not meant to be happy in life. This may not be the ultimate goal, and maybe the word isn't even happiness, but you should be joyful and at peace. That is the ultimate goal, because without joy and peace, what good is having any of the riches of the world? Because you can't enjoy them. So we can learn to neutralize all of our experiences by focusing our attention on the fact that we are aware. We focus on our awareness. Because when we focus on this awareness, automatically there is space that is created. Because in order to be aware of something, there needs to be an object of awareness and a subject that is aware of that object. And so you automatically become non-attached through the space that is created simply by observing. But you see, the reason that the person gets irritated at the red light is because they have attached their consciousness, their awareness, their identity to themselves as a person in that situation. I am stuck at a red light and I don't like it. And that story in their head is what is creating suffering and irritation in the body. And then they use justifications to reinforce that reality. When in truth, you can just be present and not add anything on to what you were experiencing. Just observe. The greatest extreme you may have heard of is the monk who set himself on fire in protest back in the day. What kind of person do you need to be to set yourself on fire? And to not react kicking and screaming. You see, this monk had such a power of non-attachment to his body, to his mind, to his experiences, that he can remain in stillness while the body was being burned alive. He could experience all of that pain and not be identified with it. Imagine that kind of power. This is the power that you have within you right now. And this power will lead you to freedom. Because when you see clearly, you see that God has already worked everything out, that everything that we experience is exactly the way it was meant to be. That the problems that we have are in the mind and not in the world. and that it is our choice to focus on what is negative or what is positive, and that the quality of our focus will determine the quality of our life. Because where attention goes, energy flows, and this energy is the creative force of existence. And so our attention determines what we will create in our reality. Do we focus on what is negative and so get brought down to lower and lower states of consciousness? Or do we focus on what is good and rise to higher states of consciousness? Or do we focus on awareness? We focus on consciousness itself, that is the highest state of vibration in existence. This is your true essence and the power of God within you.